I am Linda Deir, and this guy...
Ray Holly, in charge of all the marketing mojo behind the scenes.
He does a great job.
How am I doing? Doing a good job?
You are
You're
doing
going to keep me, right?
Ray for more reasons than one.
Okay.
I actually like Ray.
Oh.
Okay, you guys. Each week in Linda's weekly guided insights, I ask my spirit guides, what's the most important thing for you to know right now? We channel these insights using Ask the Universal Channel, the same way your spirit guides and angels interact with you in a personal angel coaching session with me. Look for these links in the description of this video. You put those in there, right, Ray?
I certainly did.
I love this guy.
This guy's on the ball.
Tonight, the guides will be talking about, are you having a breakdown? This was published today in Linda's weekly guided insights. And like always, Ray will be monitoring the Facebook feed for your questions and comments. So feel free to speak up and let me know what's on your mind regarding tonight's insight. Are you having a breakdown? First, you must identify the type of breakdown you may be having. You may be heading for a physical breakdown. You could be having an emotional breakdown, a psychological breakdown, or a mental breakdown. Regardless of the type of breakdown you are having or are beginning to have, it starts with compromise. Some people don't realize they're headed for a breakdown if they continue the way they are. First, you must admit you had one. Second, you must realize how it happened. And third, you must plan a remedy for this. Start a journal so you can study the areas in your life where you have compromised. Hint, compromise began when you thought something was more important than you were. Most people don't see a breakdown coming. Many do not realize they had one when it happened. So that's what we're talking about tonight. We've got a few comments on this. Ray, who do we have with us so far?
Well, it was like Black Friday at Walmart. As soon as I opened it up, they just started pouring in.
Oh, pouring through the door.
You see Joy and Nancy Zimmerman. Hi, Nancy. Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa. Joy and Kimberly. Daniel Jager.
Great.
Yeah. And sure, there's more coming in.
All right. Okay, so we do want your questions about, are you having a breakdown, or do you feel like you're heading for one, or
Did you have one?
Or do you think you had one?
I think I had some.
I think, as I worked on this insight, the guides, we channel this information, all right? And then I write the how it works part. When I started really digging into this, and Ray started digging into it last night, Ray wakes up at, what time in the morning did you wake up, Ray?
I was up at 5 o'clock this morning, or 4:30.
Leos don't wake up at 4:30.
Never. Never. I mean,
especially ex-musicians.
There's two 4:30s?
So anyway, Ray got up and he just felt inspired to look into this from a medical academia type of view here, as if we compare it and lean it against the guidance that comes through, that we channel. And it's really amazingly consistent.
Well, yeah, it is, but it's also different than it was several decades ago, what they used to call a breakdown.
Right.
Nervous. We'll talk about that, but nervous breakdown used to be a name for a lot of things, and now there's many, many different things that go into a breakdown, or what could be considered before as a nervous breakdown.
They just put it all into one bucket and called it a nervous breakdown.
Right.
And they didn't break it down like the guides did in this session today. And the way that Ray researched this, he's going to talk about Are we okay, Ray?
Yeah.
Okay. Ray, why don't you go ahead with the comments that came in today on this post?
Two very good comments.
That are amazing.
One from Kathy and one from Joy.
Yeah, so start with the top one.
Top one's Kathy says, I love this. Too often we think that we have to be all things to all people, and we put our own well-being in jeopardy trying to please everybody. We must listen to our guidance and our bodies and allow ourselves some grace and compassion to keep our systems working in an optimal fashion. That was a great comment.
That was.
You know, and
that was spot on.
Right. And that's why people who are people pleasers, who, like she said, put their other people's feelings and well-being ahead of your own.
Well, I'm going to bring something up. Let me say something right
Sure.
for a minute. It turns out, you know, the more, after writing Guided, I couldn't help but fall into, you know, what certain statistics are, and, you know, where I fell into certain slots in the statistics about what happens when you come up in an abusive childhood, like I did, like many of you have. And what was it you were just saying about, Kathy?
People pleasers.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody goes out of their way to please other people.
Stop. And I've got that. Okay. So it's not just people pleasers. Here's a statistic I thought was really interesting. They say that people who grew up, you know, abused and challenged in their early life turn out to be perfectionists. You can never do good enough. You're like a cat. You know how a cat obsesses over something? I mean, it really does. And I love cats. But I look at them and I go, God, I can relate to that. It's obsessive, really.
They're always cleaning themselves and
yep.
washing their face.
And to perfection.
Right.
So it's like you're always really hard on yourself because everybody they may not have been hard on you, but they made your life hard. Okay? I can relate to this because I guess I am a perfectionist. I mean, I am. And you know what though? So is Ray. But for a different reason. Ray is a perfectionist for a different reason. But this thing with child abuse and this thing with you know, feeling like you're having a breakdown, and this pressure we put ourselves under makes you more what's the word for it? Just more critical of yourself. I'm not critical of other people. It's interesting because I don't do that. In fact, I'm really compassionate with other people. I feel what they feel. Okay, like you, again, many of you are empaths. You feel what they feel.
But you can't go there.
But you've got to find your boundaries, is what I'm trying to say. So, Ray, please go ahead.
Okay, Joy's comment is a little longer. Still very good.
Really good.
Really good. Linda, I channeled my spirit guides using as a universal channel.
Right. To get the answer on this.
And ask the question.
Right.
If I had any breakdowns. Yeah, I was surprised to receive information that I had many breakdowns in my life. They indicated the first one occurred when I was 9 years old, the next one when I was 27, and the following one when I was 40. All the breakdowns came from suppressing and compromising all of my thoughts and desires.
That's exactly what it says in the insight today.
Right. I never realized that I was in a breakdown because I continued to work and function seemingly as well as other people did. However, now looking back, much of my life I gave away and suffered. Now's the time that I heal. I learned that my desires are just as valuable as those that belong to others, and I am as valuable as those I chose to compromise for. I feel that it was not just a compromise because I was the only one giving up on what I wanted to do or think. My idea of compromise now is that both people, both or everybody, works together to come up with a solution that's good for all of you.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
I mean to tell you, yeah, you know, let's play fair at this. When did this fair thing end? What happened when they just trampled over one person in the family, or one person in the company, or maybe several, this thing, it's no wonder. And what's so interesting about what Joy wrote is she had 3 of them, and she went on with her life seamlessly, what seemed to be seamlessly. But I will tell you this, I know that you can't, because I've experienced it, okay? I talk about it in Guided. I was in the gym one day and they told me, Linda, you had a breakdown. I'm like, what? I had a breakdown? I didn't go cuckoo or anything.
Well, that's what most people associated with nervous breakdowns back in the 50s and the 60s.
So, Ray, that's your stage. Go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, anytime somebody was acting weird,
yeah,
people would look at them and say, oh, well, she's on the verge of a nervous breakdown, or, he had a nervous breakdown. He's not always like that.
They're not all there,
Right.
Something like that. It was some kind of a stigma they put on it.
Right. But see, the problem is it was lumped into one thing. No matter how they were acting, it was a nervous breakdown because they didn't have a pill for each type of action like they do now.
Oh,
a
man.
different pill.
That's criminal.
Okay, right. All they could do in those days was send you to the nervous hospital and give you shocks. Okay? And that was kind of the cure for everything. Like your mother. She couldn't go
I know.
get help from anywhere.
They would have gotten radical with her.
Yeah.
They would have.
The men in the white coats.
That's true. And that would scare anybody.
Right. Hee hee ha ha to the funny farm.
The nervous hospital.
Right. Yeah, it's like Billy Bob would say.
So what do we have?
So there's many different. Let me just read this. This comes from the Australian Health Department. Many different signs that indicate a person might be experiencing a nervous breakdown. While not a medical term, people use this expression when referring to people who are being overwhelmed by mental health issues.
You're going to condense this,
right? Any type of mental health issue.
Right.
That's kind of how they applied it.
It's the catch-all.
It's the catch-all. It's like the bushel basket. However, people who feel they are having a nervous breakdown have the following feelings and symptoms. First thing on the top of the list, they feel isolated. They feel isolated and disinterested in the company of family, friends, and they withdraw from daily activities, normal activities. First thing. Second thing is they feel unable to concentrate.
Okay,
There's 3 main things.
Let me say this one thing. Okay, while Ray's talking about the breakdown that you're already in.
Right.
The one I was referring to is the one you didn't know you had. That you, upon reflection, like Joy channeled her spirit guides, and they gave her the actual ages where she had these breakdowns. So that's after it happened, and you don't see it until after. If you're already in it, you cannot see it. You won't see it. That's where using your journal and writing in part 3, that something's not right, okay? That you're feeling like people are taking advantage of you, like you're compromising something, okay? And then when you start writing about your compromises, it's not just a compromise that you're going to find. You're going to find a whole flood of them, all right? That's finally getting so overwhelming that you can't not see it. It's time to see it, okay? That's what this does. It flushes it out. It takes it out of here, and it puts it on these pages so that once it's there, you've got the proof, and you can always go back and look back and review what happened, what you wrote, and just go, oh boy, I won't let that back into my life. So, Ray, go ahead.
So the symptoms of a breakdown, or a nervous breakdown, or any kind of breakdown, are twofold. They're emotional and they're physical. Now, there's 3 emotional ones, which we talked about. They feel isolated and they withdraw. They're unable to concentrate at work or on daily simple tasks. And they get real moody. They get depressed or low. They have the blues. They get depressed.
You feel like you're not included.
They feel burnt out. They get emotional outbursts like anger or fear.
You're topped off.
Right, and they feel helpless about helping themselves. But the physical parts are more visible. Yeah, insomnia.
More
First one,
obvious.
right. First one at the top of the list. Insomnia. You have a lot on your mind and you find it difficult to sleep, or you sleep is disrupted all the time. And then muscle pain. A lot of muscle pain, especially sore, stiff muscles in your neck and back.
That's because you're holding resistance.
Right. And then exhaustion. Difficulty
because
sleeping.
it takes a lot of energy to do all that stuff that you're resistant to, that you're resisting. By the end of the day, oh my God!
And all that stress is interrupting your sleep,
right?
And then you get exhausted, and that causes anxiety and makes you feel more exhausted.
God, the anxiety. Everyone can identify the anxiety. You know when you've got it.
Anxiety is worrying about your future,
and it's just taking and learning to manage your energy and really tighten up your diet, your everything. Cut the sugar, cut the caffeine, cut the alcohol, cut it out, and let your body and let yourself recover from what's been going on with you.
And if it's hard to pinpoint something,
that's when you catch it before it happens.
Yeah, if it's hard to pinpoint something, try it for a week. Like cut out alcohol or cut out alcohol and caffeine for a week, and see how quickly your mood changes.
You'll calm down. You might think that something like that helps you calm down, helps you relax, but it really doesn't. No. Over the long run, it has all kinds of effects on you physically, like what Ray was talking about. And it feels like it's taking the edge off, but really if you do it, you'll see that it adds an edge. It makes you fire off more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what do we have there, Ray?
Kathy, Kimberly, Vanessa, Nancy, Joy.
Yeah, this thing with are you having a breakdown is it's more likely that you've had one or are having one or will have one than you think. It's not, and it's also not the stigma that they've made it into from decades ago, all right?
Right. What I see in people I observe and people I know, it's pretty common.
Actually, it really is. Yeah. Yeah. When you break it down, you see it. You know what to watch for. When you start feeling that edge on you, it's time to back off. And the people around you, by the way, your family and the people at work, or your friends, they won't notice that maybe your friends will. If you have a really tight friend, like a soulmate friend, then they'll notice it. They'll talk to you about it. You guys will work together on trying to work through it. Okay, if you're at all spiritual at all, okay, and it's not that even if they didn't notice it, it would be maybe because they don't think they should butt in, but a soulmate would talk to you about it. You know, somebody tight.
One thing that
your guides will talk to you about it. Right. What happened with Joy tonight when she said, I talked to my guides. She channeled her guides with her talking board, Ask the Universal Channel, and got this communication through. They will tell you, actually, your guides, they will tell you straight. They will get right into the heart of the matter, skip all the, niceties and, trying to protect your ego and not put you in a spot where you feel like you have to resist them or, you don't want to see it and face it right now. Your guides don't care about that. They don't worry about you being able to handle it. Of course you can. Okay? They know you can.
They wouldn't give you anything they knew you couldn't
handle. They know you
can.
In fact, you need to know. So that's another reason why consulting with your guides is premium.
Okay, so you've got these surface level things that are very observable from the fact that you feel isolated, you are unable to concentrate, and you're moody from the emotional side. And then you can't sleep. From the physical side, you can't sleep. You're exhausted all the time, and you have muscle pain. But if you let that stuff go, it can affect your headaches, migraines, give you migraines, gives you dizzy spells.
You don't make a course correction.
Right. Make a course correction. You can have gastrointestinal issues of all kinds. You can get fast heartbeat. It leads to panic attacks where you feel you can't breathe. You're choking off the air. You can't breathe. And
We
sweats.
can all,
Cold sweats and warm sweats.
okay, so every one of us can relate to having these symptoms at some point in our life.
Right.
We can absolutely relate to it. We were heading the wrong way.
But you didn't connect it to.
No.
The reason I'm having that is because I'm having a breakdown.
Right. And you know what? It means you're under too much stress. Nobody should have to go through that. That's too much.
It's just like what they said in today's insight. It's like when your computer gets overloaded. I mean, people work on their computer, and they don't ever bother to clean the cache. They don't, use a program to clean
That's
out make
true.
it, and get it back to its original speed and things like that. And boy, once they do that and they see the difference, they go, "Oh my God, it was ready to die."
I know. It really is amazing. Yeah. The CPU was at 100.
Yeah, why is it overheating all the time?
That's my thing. I get all this stuff open, and and it reflects me.
Multitasking.
The massive multitasking, and I've got to have all these things open and working because they interact with each other and they work together.
Yeah.
So
You
it's
walk
not.
over and look at my computer. I've got 4 or 6 tabs open.
I
You
think-
got 35 or 40 open.
I think he's just slacking over there.
I'm not working. She thinks I'm not working.
I know. So this is this is the price. If we don't learn how to, balance this stuff out, then we're going to get ourselves in a situation. When that happened to me, I'll just talk about my situation. And we're looking for your questions. Do we have?
No questions yet. Kimberly Williams joined us. Hi, Kimberly.
So we're looking for your questions about, are you having a breakdown? And the things that Ray read off and the things that they talked about, the guides talked about in the insight today, about what are those different things. If you look at them all, you guys could say, well, man, I have one of those every week. I mean, seriously, there's times when chaos, everything just hits all at once. It seems like it hits in threes, and it just gets to you. So it could also happen when you're just out and out unhappy in a relationship. One thing that I learned, and I talked about it in the How It Works part of this insight, I talked about how my lesson was to, let me just read it exactly how I wrote it. This stuff is sure not easy, I'll tell you that. Let me see here. My lesson was to never allow an unhealthy situation to persist in my life. Just don't let it persist. It might be there. It might show up. It might, how things will change, and, people change and all kinds of stuff changes. And if it gets to the point where it's persistent and it's interrupting my life, I'm not going to let it. I'm not going to keep trying to push it off and say I'm too busy. I don't have time to deal with this. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to get it out of my life. I'm going to move through that and work optimally, okay? I want to be at optimum performance. I don't want to be burdened down with, this unexpected thing coming at me over here. I can't stand that. So,
But most people don't respond like that. Most people
you
think,
need to. Okay,
That's
you need
right.
to. I'm telling you that as we move forward, what's going to happen is we're moving into changes. We're moving into economic conditions. That's going to make what we're going through today in these times look easy.
Seem like the good old days.
Yeah, man, it's going to look easy. So you've got to get a hold of yourself. You've got to bring yourself back into this balance I'm talking about. This world and the world that you came from, who you are. You've got to work on this part of you and bring it back into play, all right? It's really never been more important than to do that now. You are living in two worlds. You've just been kind of postponing this one and tolerating this one. And that's not the way you didn't come here to live like that. That's why you struggle.
So why do people, when, like I said, you're different. You won't tolerate the situation to go on, whatever it is. Why do most people think that if I just let it alone, it'll get better?
Guilt. You feel responsible for the situation. You brought that person into the company. You brought that person into your life. Your part in it. You're still punishing yourself for doing that. You don't want it. It's like making a play in the stock market. The stock goes down, and then you go, and that's when it really starts to get painful. You go, well, maybe what I'm told to do is to double down now,
when the price is low.
When the price is low, so that when it goes back up, I'm going to make it all back plus more. So it's the same thing. You're counting, like Ray said. You're counting on it getting better. It'll just take care of itself. And maybe it will even be better than it would have been if you got yourself involved, all right? But when it persists, the part I talk about is when it persists. You guys, you're on the short end of the stick. You can't put it off and have this thing interrupting you and taking you down this potential road of eventually just crashing and burning because of that situation, What do we have, Ray?
Kimberly says, hey, I think I'm having a breakdown. I can't seem to get out of this tired sadness. Why do I feel like this a lot? There's nothing bad going on in her life right now. I should be happy all the time. I've been trying to meditate, but it seems like every time I start, I get interrupted by something or someone.
Okay, is that
Yeah.
Okay, let's let her guides talk to her about that, Ray. Nobody knows you better than your spirit guides and angels.
That's true.
Kimberly. And you know that now from being in the group, in the Ask the Universal Channel secret Facebook group that you're in. But your guides are going to talk to you about this because, after all, they're there all the time, and here they go.
Kimberly, don't worry about these interruptions when meditating. You are not trying to reach a state where your mind is totally clear of thoughts. You may have to change the place where you meditate so as not to be interrupted by other people. The goal of meditating is to be able to control your thoughts and not empty your mind. If you continue to feel this sadness, we want you to change your routine. Eliminate one thing at a time from your routine and see what happens. If you eliminate something and you still feel sad, that was the wrong thing. Eliminate something else. Keep eliminating until you don't feel sad anymore.
Okay, so something you're doing, what they're really leading you to, is something you're doing is causing it could be hormonal imbalance, it could be just some emotional imbalance, it could be something out there that's just, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard for you, where you can't do that. You shouldn't put yourself in that spot. You shouldn't make yourself have to be around that type of situation or people or whatever it is. You have to start making a note of what's going on. And always, Kimberly, part 3, always write down what you're realizing, what you're what you're working on, what project this is. You call it a project, and what you're working on, right in part 3, and the continuing pages as you experience more things and try this and then but don't eliminate more than one thing at one time, or you'll never identify what it is.
See, she's got, according to our list that we talked about, she's got one out of each list. She's got tired sadness. That's how she explained it. So she's exhausted, and she's in the moody category, the sadness.
Right.
So what is it that you're doing that's causing one or the other or both?
Right. It might be that one thing is causing both. It might be that 3 things are causing both. Okay? So you have to start eliminating things one at a time.
Which one happened first, too? Did you get exhausted first? Did the tiredness come in first, and then you got sad about it?
That's right.
Or did you get sad, and then you got tired?
Yeah. And you might find out that it's something that's a spiritual thing, too. I know that for me, many times, I had the experience where I knew what I knew, and I loved what I was learning, and the connection to my guides was endless. It was my world, okay, living in these 2 worlds at the same time, and nobody noticed it. That's how unconscious people are. To me, that was the saddest thing. It was the isolation that Ray talked about. Yeah, I had my guides. I always had the answers and solutions to what I needed to know when I needed to know it. But I was definitely isolated. I was excluded.
See, when people are isolated, they don't think about asking their guides. They don't know who to ask.
That's all I had. But I had it. I had a good thing going, and I always have had this connection. So there is a time, though. I've had certain experiences in my dreams that went on for weeks on end with my experiences with my spirit guides, where they were showing me certain things on how to manage my energy, okay, when I'm going out of body and stuff like that. And they pick up where they left off from the night before and take me to the next step of the learning process, and then from that to the next night. I mean, it was amazing. And there was a point where I kind of lost my appetite for being in this world. I mean, it was depressing. It made me sad. Because I know, see, here's what it is. I miss where I come from. I still do. I will always miss where I come from because I remember that. I remember where I came from. And as you guys learn and you spiritually evolve, you're going to have this longing that comes through that makes you feel this. You can't help but feel this because this is why having this connection, work through the process, Kimberly. If that's what it is, you're longing to be where you know that everything is just, you can be who you are. In fact, it's the only thing you can be. And this world, it competes with you. It challenges you. It insults you. It's always doing something that makes it hard for this part of you to be here, okay? But you've got to learn how to do this. After all, I just have to say this. You have to learn how to master this, because that's what you came here to do. If you are not fully engaged, fully connected, then the life you came here to live, you're going to go through another lifetime and probably miss it.
Okay, Kimberly had an observation here. She thinks that it might be a little bit like that because she works all night and sleeps all day. Now, look back at a lot of times, in my opinion, the things that would trigger you being exhausted or sad would be something external, like you're not eating properly or you're not sleeping properly.
That's right. But once you eliminate those things, you find out what it is and you identify it, and then you deal with it, okay? And then if you find out that something like for me, it was real obvious that it was a longing for me when I had that feeling. All right. That's happened several times in my life. And like the guides, many times what they did is they pulled away from me until I grounded myself back in this world. And I was no longer wanting to just lean into this and maybe out of this. I mean, seriously, okay? So it's an awesome thing to have, but it's about balancing our energy, you guys. We came here to master this. And then when we master this, there is nothing can stop you. It's all I can say. You are so one with the whole thing. You can't miss. You are so present and you are so capable. All right. But your thing about sleeping in the daytime and working at night, that is a tough gig, Kim.
Yeah.
They had studies on what that does to your clock, your internal clock.
Biorhythms.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
That is a tough one.
Yeah.
Another thing is, would you suggest that they go back, like in the journal, where you go back to the first time you noticed it? And what was going on then? When was the first time you felt exhausted? When was the first time you started getting sad?
Yeah.
And ask your guides to help you go back to find that time and what made you exhausted at that point? What made you sad?
You really do need to identify that. Yeah. You need to retrace your steps. Kimberly, you are so good at this. I know you can do it, and I know you will do it. Part 3 of the journal. Okay? But this thing about you working at night and sleeping in the daytime, that's a tough one. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, I'm a night person. No, you're a night person when you're relaxing. You're not a night person when you're at work. And then you come home and your biorhythms, what Ray was talking about, is not lining up with your life. Yeah.
I think the way you train your body earlier on in your life kind of sticks with you. I mean, it's like if you work all day and slept all night, and then when you're older, you got a job where you worked all night and slept all day. That's a misfit.
Yeah.
That doesn't go together. That piece of the puzzle doesn't fit in there. I mean, I was a musician, so I played till 2 o'clock in the morning. I get home at 3, 4, 4:30 maybe. But I'm still like that. I still subconsciously.
He does. He is still like that.
I can stay up late at night and work and be clear, but I don't like to get up in the morning.
Right. Right. Those things do stay with you. So just pay attention to it. And if you need to change that, Kimberly, if that's one of the things you need to change to test the water, so to speak, then change it. Tell the person you're working for that, it's working, it's having an effect on you. You need a different schedule.
Right.
Don't be afraid to do that. I know you're not afraid to do that. All right.
Yeah, you don't need to be sad because of your work schedule.
Right.
Okay. There we go. I'm sad quite often through the years, but the exhaustion started when she started working at night. There you go.
Yep. You've got to change it. They've got to change that, your hours. Period.
Right. Yeah, that's where compromise comes in.
By the way, that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow, Wednesday, is compromise. It's about, I'll talk about it in a minute, but it flows right into tomorrow. So, sleep on this thing. Write it in your journal, Kimberly, and then come tomorrow, all right? Yeah, right here, Facebook Live, 6 p.m.
Yeah, this whole thing with all of a sudden working different hours, it'll take a while, but pretty soon it will affect your health where you will not be able to go to work.
Yeah, you don't even go down. It's like, are you having a breakdown? Yes.
Yeah.
Having one, and I'm stopping it. Okay, so that's what you're going to do. You're gonna belly up to the bar and face this thing. Okay, what do we have as far as questions go?
No questions.
No questions, you guys. Come on, you guys.
Yeah, she says okay. She's going to do it. We know you're going to do it.
Bring those questions. We've got about another 10 minutes to take your questions. So bring them on. Don't be shy. And, you know, we've all faced stuff, you guys, or we're facing them right now, like what Kimberly talked about. She's facing it right now. It's the energy of coming on Tuesday and on Wednesday when we're here that gives Kimberly, and Thursdays in her Ask the Universal Channel sessions with the other students, that give Kimberly the community that of caring that gets her out of these jams, okay? And I know that's true with you, Kimberly, and that's great. So the rest of you are missing out if you don't ask your questions, okay? Don't be shy.
Okay, so this is today's insight. One paragraph I found kind of scary.
Uh-oh.
Okay? Some people don't realize they're headed for a breakdown if they continue the way they are. There's even a phrase for it. He or she is on the verge of a breakdown. Well, you know, that's scary in itself. How is it that you can't see it when other people can? Because you can't see you're on the verge of a breakdown. It's because you don't think it's even possible.
Right.
Or you can't see it when you're in it because to you, your life is the same as it always has been.
I know. That isn't saying much.
And then one day you just blow a fuse.
If you're heading for a breakdown, by the way, have you noticed all the people breaking down? I don't even want to bring it up, but in the news in the last week, it's been one thing after the other. And this is the extreme of breakdown, okay? I mean, really off the chart breakdown stuff. I don't expect any of you have to worry about something like that, but it does take its toll. And people around you, they'll look at you like they always like to look at it like it's happening to someone else.
Right. What's happening on the other side of the world doesn't affect me.
Right.
Well,
so they'll notice it in you, and you will notice it in them. You know, they're beginning to act strange. Their personalities changed. They're getting ready to snap, or it looks like they're heading for a breakdown, you know, that type of thing. So if you can spot it in somebody else, and you're conscious, and you write these things down that don't agree with you in your life, that have changed, that, you know, that are now affecting your mental, physical, or spiritual health, then you're going to see it. You won't see it. I said before, you don't see it when you're in it. And most people don't see it as they're leading up to it. I didn't. I just was in a situation where it's like I held my head and I said, God, I got to get through this. Another day, another week, I got to get through it. I got to get through it. And I have this determination that got me through it. It pulled me through it. But man, oh man, you know, enough is enough. You got to know when it's enough of that. And you've got to start working with your universe and trusting your guides and you know, going that way so that you can begin to, when you trust yourself enough to do that, you are beginning to come back. You are beginning to come back into the picture. You are then united. You are one with this. And you are so much healthier and more powerful than you've ever been. That's the key, you guys. This is not supposed to be a struggle.
Yeah, and for people who, I mean, I'm guilty of this. You know, you hear something on the news that happened on the other side of the world, and you don't think, well, I'm so lucky that doesn't affect me here. Well, that's not true, because if you believe in the concept of universal collective consciousness, if there's just one person on the other side of the world that's afraid or scared or, you know, in trouble or feeling one way or another, that affects you.
It definitely does. It goes into the mass consciousness. It's in the airwave. It's the ripple effect. It definitely does.
Right.
Yeah. So, do we have any questions, Ray? We're going to move through
We
this.
have a comment.
Okay.
Kimberly says she walks around in her backyard for an hour a day with her shoes off so she can ground herself, but I feel a little off with it. That's good. I mean, a lot of people really believe that, you know, walking around with your shoes off is good, especially if you do it outside.
Yeah, and Kimberly, for you to feel like you do, you need to take a step and you need to,
Get your hours changed.
yeah, you need to actually perform on that, okay? You definitely do. Okay, so you guys, this thing about breakdown, it's fascinating. And I think more people are having it than they think, especially now. All right?
Right.
Okay, tomorrow, Wednesday, August 7th, before we do our closing message, I'm going to have a few announcements. Tomorrow, Wednesday, August 7th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, join me right here on my Facebook page, Linda Deir, author. This will be about, is your life loaded down with compromise? See what I'm saying, Kimberly? See what I'm saying, Joy? It's compromise. What Kimberly did when she took the night shift, she compromised. You know, that's what gets us in this mess. What happened to the real you? Or do you even matter anymore? And yes, you do. Do you find yourself living a life loaded down with compromise? Loaded down? Ouch! That's a lot of compromise. But that's what happens. You let one compromise in, and the next one sneaks up on you, and you go, well, all right, all right. Do you feel trapped? That's how it begins to feel. Do you believe there's no way out? That's where the depression comes in, and the isolation, and the sadness, and the disconnect, the isolation. This urgency you are feeling is guidance, bringing attention to what is standing in the way of you performing on what you came here to do. It's a great big red sign saying, pay attention. This is serious. Put a stop to this. Okay? Start eliminating these things one at a time. Don't throw everything out at once. Okay, just start to thin it down, just like you brought it in. All right? The feeling of desperation is what will get you to act on this now. You get so overwhelmed, you get desperate. Now you start to chew away at it, all right? Bring your questions. Using My Guided Journey, your spirit guides and I are going to help you with this. Okay, so we'll see you about that tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific time, right here on Facebook. And mark your calendars, all right? For Saturday, September 7th, just 1 month from today, I will be live on location in Phoenix, Arizona at Storm Wisdom from 1 to 3 p.m. This event will be about making the connection to your spirit guides with Linda Deir. It's $35 and includes a free paperback copy of My Guided Journey, which is a $15 value. So to watch the video trailer and register for this event, click on the link in the description of this video. And then next Tuesday, Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, just like tonight, August 13th, join me live right here on my Facebook page, Linda Deir, author. This will be a Q&A and commentary with me and my spirit guides at 6 p.m. Pacific time, so don't miss it. In Linda's Weekly Guided Insights, my spirit guides will be talking about where does the longing for a relationship come from? Before you came here into this life, you had a perfect relationship. The relationship you had with us, your spirit guides and angels, was flawless and easy. There were no compromises in order to be in this relationship, nor were there any special agendas held by any one of us. So you reincarnated into this world. When you reincarnated into this world, the only thing you had to compare relationships to was what you had before you got here. This is a pretty high standard to live up to in the physical world of lessons and learning, where they came from, as opposed to where we are in this world, trying to get relationships to work, chasing them, longing for them, because we remember. It's the only way we'd have this longing. It has to come from somewhere, right? That's proof right there. It's listening to your feelings. So I've got one more announcement, but after we do the closing message for tonight's insight, and that is, are you having a breakdown? And here they go.
Now that you know and are aware of what a breakdown looks like, that is, the observable symptoms, and how common they are with you and your friends, you can help yourself and others get back into balance. For it is your balance of body, mind, and spirit that is a natural goal in this life. It's what your soul strives for. You cannot achieve this balance if you are not self-observant to your situation. That's when you ask for our help before you go too far in the wrong direction in any three of those areas.
And for those of you who don't know how to use Ask the Universal channel, I'm going to talk about what's going to happen Thursday of this week. That if you don't know about it, this is how you're going to know about it, all right? Thursday, August the 8th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, join us on our Facebook secret group, Ask the Universal channel. The students will be performing the following. Kathy's guides will talk about visitors from other dimensions. Joy will channel her spirit guides about when she first found them, again, how old she was, and how that has changed her life. And Veronica's guides will be talking about how you can tap into their guidance when you tune in to the present moment with improvisational humor. Okay. So what Veronica must have been, by the way, each one of these gals, Kathy, Joy, and Veronica, they're the students of Ask the Universal channel, and they are the primary students that teach you, when you come in new, how to use your Ask the Universal channel talking board, okay? They've gotten to the point where they're really good at it. They use their pendulum and they use their planchette, all right, they speller. So they don't do it both ways. You get a great feel for it, and they're really, really loving, and they listen to you. They care about what you're talking about. They know where you're getting tripped up and how to get you back on track. And they're kind about it, all right? So this is a secret group. This is a tight group. So if you guys aren't in this group, if you're missing out on this, for example, tomorrow's Wednesday, they're going to have their lesson at 4 p.m. Pacific time tomorrow. You guys are going to miss it if you're not in the group. And if you are in the group, then be sure to join them. And they do a great lesson. They do lessons throughout the week for free.
Free.
Honestly, this is a great group. Loving, kind, soul-driven, spiritual group of people who really care about each other. All right?
Doing what they love for the people they love.
That's exactly right, Ray. That's right. Okay, and so look for the instructions on how to join this secret Facebook group, Ask the Universal Channel, in the description of this video. And what happens is the qualifier is you have to have we've got 3 versions of Ask the Universal Channel. You have to have at least 1 version of it to get into the group, all right? That's the qualifier. And then after that, you can watch the videos they've done, what they've already, their lessons, and you can see everything that's going on and when they're going to have the next lesson. And every other Thursday, this being one of those Thursdays, Ray and I host the group that's there on Thursday that I did the announcement about them channeling their guides about what they're going to be talking about on Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific this Thursday. So get in there and join the group and, make this connection, and you will no longer wonder. You won't be lost in this world. You will have the solutions you need, all right? Not the opinions of others. You go out looking for opinions and what do I do and how should I do this? And they're just as lost as you are, okay? But your guides are not lost. Your guides are never lost. You might be lost, and they watch you get lost all the time. They talk about that. But they're not lost. They're sitting right there waiting for you to be ready. All right, they're just waiting.
That's an odd concept. Going out and when you're in trouble and you need advice on something, going out and asking people who are more screwed up than you are for advice.
That's what happens. That's exactly what happens, especially now. People don't know. They don't know what to do. They don't have the answers in these uncertain times. Okay?
Right.
So
Kathy and Kimberly came to the same conclusion about their jobs. Kathy says, that's how I felt in that horrible job I had. I know now I had multiple breakdowns while I did that job. Thank God I'm out of it. And Kimberly says, you're right. I was trying to help out, but it wasn't helping me.
Compromise.
Compromise.
Come tomorrow night. Compromise. We're going to be talking about what's the name of that for tomorrow night? It is called, here we go. It is your life loaded down with compromise? And the reason they said loaded down is because compromise, you make one compromise, it's like, okay. And then pretty soon, it's like a domino effect. Pretty soon you're loaded down with the money.
Right, and the people you compromised for learn to expect it from you.
They work you.
That's why everybody in one family takes advantage of one person.
That's true, Ray. That was you.
Is that me?
Yeah, that was you and your
family. I had a breakdown?
Well,
probably.
No, that where you were the one that compromised, that you took care of the family, where you did so much.
Plus all the people that worked for me.
I know. But you were getting paid for that one, Ray.
Yeah.
That wasn't so much of a compromise, but and you liked those people.
I did.
Okay, that's not a compromise.
I was always of the opinion that when you hire somebody to work for you, you hire their family. And
we still feel like that. Ray and I, in Guided, I talk about that, where the general contractors wouldn't pay us on the day they were required to do it, and we had $30,000 a week payrolls in the early 70s. I mean, and they'd say, "Oh, we don't have your money this week," so I had to tell 30 carpenters and their families they weren't going to eat that week. I don't think
that's not
so.
going to happen.
No, that never did happen. That never happened once. Okay, not once, but it makes you feel, you wind up being the one that carries the load when people don't act responsibly. They dump it on you, and all of a sudden you've made all these compromises for them. What the heck were you thinking? I've done it too.
So Kimberly says she won't be able to be there tomorrow night. She's helping somebody move, and she's going to watch the replay.
Oh, we are going to miss you, Kimberly. But I think you have this, Kimberly. You just have to act on it, okay? Act on that, Kimberly. Okay.
You know who your friends are on moving day.
We're rooting for you, Kimberly. Okay. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. We'll see you guys on Thursday. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. All right?
All right. Be kind to everybody out there.
Good night.